Right, so that's Kwabena Bumfe, the popularly called Joseph Kabila, who is addressing the gathering there at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, where his party is launching its 2016 manifesto. He has actually been saying that those who put together the manifesto and the various themes will soon be addressing party supporters and members at the venue to highlight the key aspects of the manifesto in several sectors. I want to see that this will bring out quite a lot of detail we can discuss much further. Let's go back there and see what transpires.
This manifesto, as we have said, is premised on 3 foundational legs. The manifesto no emu nsem no ejina anan miensa so. Di kan self-determination. Say wo nyame bon wo say de ho so. Na wan kasa firi upem. Na kasa wey na me pe. Dia me pese me ye nie. Anamo me pese me tu nie. Sa ba ya wana ma otu oni wonsusua no. Sa wo fomo a omfa nkosha wo maame, omfa nkosha wo papa, omfa nkosha wo sewa ana wo nana bi. Na mmomu beji atum se eye me anam ye. Enu nti ana wo mo anyi sa de ni no. Da ne da wo mo sori a ye ko World Bank, ye ko IMF, ye ko the policy credibility. Policy credibility. If you cannot give credibility to yourself and to your manifesto and your policies and your decisions, then of course you are not fit to govern yourself. So indeed, I am positing here, and I want to make a strong case. The NDC and the MPP, they have brought colonialism in a veiled form. And that is why we are here to fight and redeem Ghana, to make Ghana work again. We are going to bring back our dignity. Second slide. Thank you. Enti ya kasa ya eye ya nkasa ya kasa ya kanu nkumaism no. Ye oh. Enti director of communication Apam Manifesto say you know, one more hwɛ no one more hwɛ wo GH1 television so say yes also live TV3 and ye hwɛ ye yes so Star FM, Ultimate FM and well FM samtie na muntie yaba enti mi tra first slide no ye de ho na ye de ho kyerɛ sɛ nyame nyame odi akyɛ yɛn no ye be yusu ye de ayadwuma ama so abanfaso ama yɛn na ye self determine na ye de ye pɛ no Apam Foforo ka sɛ oka ebi no antia say we prefer self government in danger to servitude in tranquility no binum ntia se hwɛ President Foforo can say be, and it is contained or it is emanating from the spirit. So he prefers to be a boy in a party in government than general secretary of a party in opposition. So what do you now young from Swana was yes from Sono? A year time, so Papa it was Sikania or yes Sikanicho be the NDC MPP for the Ashimano. Second one, Yadia Wanya Kadia. Anya japade anya sika no yan trasen kasa ye ne edi aban nim ana ye di man nim e ma ye nya ye nti yan ko aye kopre ye fie de ana ye kokase unya CPP ni a yan fa ho ka ho ana se ye kokase ye World Bank any Asante region ana ye World Bank any Volta region ye World Bank e Ghana ye pe yo ba se and you see ye friend be social justice. Sa wodi peri yo bechiche ama obi anya ne so ene ne de ye mfa chiche mu bi ama Young Cassa said we want them empty allocation. As I said, the man will do something on Emma, the man was out here. Social justice and equality. Now, we are we are before. Before. I knew saying, I mean, we are supposed to be pano. We should be Bremuchem by in so assassin, a from one good year, Nipa, Mamma, Mark of 1 dinner, because all you are doing, Nansa, you will be. You know, we shall be a defense. You come, my swan, you Tuban for Swapa, you buy a hand with ya, a bro, by ye, Nancy Moon at the air. Pan-Africanism is to recognize our continental oneness. I know one. Say Ghana in 1958. Your friend, the first All-African People's Conference. One Maya Nanya Famudia Sabreno, Wombeshia or Ghana. Job 600 and the Parliament for Jabosi. Come the CEO. And young woman said, Daya come see here. Now under this Fourth Republic, ya say Sika, almost said, here innovating. Think about it, Ghanaians. This is the party that has worked for you before. And this is the party that is promising you it will work for you again. Believe them because they have a record. Ninchemu ankasa in detail no. Mibeton safre eni anoma kuku dambinom. Ama wonom abekasa. Yodi kan enoma kano brofo. She is a pharmacist. She is also a public health expert. And she is a gender advocate, a practicing politician, and indeed the second vice chair of the Convention People's Party, Madam Mrs. Susan Adu Amankwa.
Right, so Susanna Duamankwa will be speaking pretty shortly to the CPP gathering at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences to talk about aspects of the manifesto which is to be launched pretty shortly. The CPP, if you must know, has not formed a government since 1966. So they're coming on the back of a very tall order following achievements of the first president, Dr. Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and his achievement. The party boasts of achievements like construction of the hub or construction and building of housing complexes in Tema, among others, and Akosombo Dam, which was constructed during the term of Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. The Accra International Airport was also constructed by Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and the Ghana Airways Corporation, Ghana Airways, has folded up. It was actually divested under the MPP administration, and the party says that it cannot be accounted for. The CPP, during the tenure of Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, constructed the University of Cape Coast. These are quite a number of achievements the party has to its name, but you must know that it hasn't formed a government since 1966 and is hoping to use this opportunity to come back to power using its Hope Manifesto. Let's go back there to the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences and see what's happening there.
If you are planning for a lifetime, educate the people. And this we believe in, that education is key. Education is important. Education is your life. When you have good education, you have a good life. When you have education, you have a better health. So for the CPP, education serves a multiple purpose of aiding the individual to better understand society and nature, and to acquire the skills to earn a decent living while contributing to national development. Under our Accelerated Education Sector Investment Program, educational facilities from kindergarten to the tertiary level will be refurbished and expanded to meet the needs of a growing population and modernized society. The CPP will do the following: significantly reduce income taxes for teachers and health personnel, in addition to other incentives for those who work in rural areas and places designated as deprived. Use tax incentives for the private sector, especially financial institutions, to build school infrastructure, and in particular areas of the country, lease that infrastructure to the state for a specific period, after which it becomes state property. We shall improve the education content and administration, as well as the learning process, by strengthening the teacher training education. Nkrumah said that you don't educate a person for himself. You give the person the kind of education that he puts his skills at the needs of his community, that the skills are for the community and the nation. And that is the kind of education we want to give people, that they put their skills not for the benefit of themselves, but for the benefit of their community and this nation. We will build educational systems that not only provides academic skills, but inculcates in our children a high degree of self-esteem, personal responsibility, civic duty, patriotism, and community service. The countries in the world with the best educational system prize effort over inherent smartness or cleverness, and they have clear objectives and outcomes and goalposts, and they give their children a strong sense of culture and a strong sense of accountability, and they all know not only that, they engage all stakeholders in their education, and that is what the CPP will do. At the tertiary level, we shall introduce international distant learning scheme that will allow Ghanaians in the diaspora to teach classes in Ghana by the internet or by satellite. We will invest heavily in the infrastructure and, most importantly, the provision of equipment for science and technology and the teaching of quality tutorship. To improve access and quality at all levels throughout the country, we will raise the school leaving age to 18 years. Secondary school will become part of basic education, and it will be made free. And we have said this ad nauseum. Some people take it as a new thing, but we have said it long ago, that basic education includes secondary education, and that it will be made free. Tertiary institutions. We shall set up regional campuses for all state universities and other tertiary institutions to improve access and reduce the cost of higher education to households. We shall decentralize specialized teaching for all universities with an established capacity to offer such training. This tool will improve access and reduce the pressure on facilities and staff in the specialized institution. We shall give students the opportunity to assess and rate their lecturers regularly in order to improve the quality of tertiary education. We are raising a new Ghanaian who questions, who wants the best. And if you come and teach, it's not just you've taught and you are going. We will assess you, the teacher, whether you are teaching us well and whether we are understanding. Private tertiary institutions, we will regulate the quality of private tertiary institutions and encourage them to collaborate with the state and the private sector to provide the manpower needs of the country. For the CPP, the poverty gap is a technology gap. The richest nations in the world are the most technologically advanced, and the poorest nations have a low level of technology development. So we shall place science and technology back at the center of development. The CPP will do the following. We will upgrade science and technology facilities at all educational institutions and complete the Science and Technology Museum, which has been under construction forever. I'm sure many of you don't even know where it is. We shall adequately resource the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, to play a more active role in national development. We shall set up the Ghana Global Science and Technology Consortium to foster cooperation between Ghanaian scientists at home and abroad. We shall set up an expert panel to review all scientific and social research conducted in Ghana over the use for policy making and national development. Many times we have the research and it's placed on the shelf and it's gathering dust. We shall bridge the research policy gap and ensure that the research that is done in this country is used for the benefit of this country. Health policy. The CPP proposes a health policy that will be multi-sectorial, comprising the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Food and Agric, the Ministry of Sports, the Ministry of Local Government, among others. In general, our overriding aim will be to reduce the inequalities in the standard of care for all and to improve public health. Our health will be public health focused. Public health, let me give you a little of the definition, is the science of protecting the safety and improving the health of communities. Not just the individual, communities. Through education, through policy making, through research for disease, injury, and injury prevention. And so we will strengthen our public health service in such a way that the promotion, the prevention, the rehabilitation, and the creative aspect of health is taken seriously. We shall increase the number of training institutions to produce all cadres of health personnel and provide continuing education for health personnel. We shall strengthen training institutions to provide supervision and monitor performance of health personnel to improve quality health services. We shall establish desks at the key in the ministries that I mentioned: food and agri, education, water resources, etc., etc. And of course, we shall provide adequate resources for local research and the development of both orthodox and traditional medicine. Now we come to labor issues. In CPP, work and happiness, will do my best for beautiful Ghana.
God will bless you
wherever you are. Work and happiness, I will do my best. You should do your best for beautiful Ghana. The CPP Human Resource Development Policy aims to create a 21st century labor force made up of highly educated, highly motivated, highly industrious, and healthy workers in a safe and modern work environment. One of the things that we shall do, of many, employment and earnings, will adopt a labor policy comprising of strategies for employment creation and policies to ensure decent wages nationwide. We shall benchmark productivity, working with the Management, Development and Productivity Institute to develop economy-wide indicators for productivity that will serve as the benchmark for determining wages and addressing the concerns of both labor and management. We shall replace the Fair Wages Commission, which focuses mainly on public sector wages, with the National Incomes Commission, whose work will cover the state and non-state sectors as well in the formal and informal sectors. The new commission, among other things, will regularly report trends and undertake research into various types of income, such as wages and salaries in the various sectors, proprietors' income, rental income, farmers' income, as well as the conditions that changes in these incomes. Understanding labor's challenges will be important. So, we will promote labor studies in Ghana by expanding and resourcing the existing labor college in Accra to international standards for both Ghanaians and foreign students. Of course, our children, we shall combat child labor, tackle the persistent problem of child labor within the context of existing laws and international conventions by attacking the cultural and economic factors that sustain the practice. In the past, you didn't see children walking about willy-nilly, true ones. Your parents will be held responsible. The society, and these days is all over, that will change. Housing policy, affordable housing, in terms of both of ownership and rental, which is one of the most important aspects of responsible social policy. So, we will work with the Building and Research Institute, the Ghana Real Estate Development, and other stakeholders in the housing industry to provide low-cost technologies for the building of high-quality and high-capacity homes and apartments across the country. We will work with the Institution of Engineers and other relevant private and public bodies to improve standards and quality in the construction industry. Cultural policy. For years, successive governments have paid lip service to the development of a national cultural policy, with the result that we have no comprehensive framework to guide the preservation and promotion of our culture beyond our annual festivals. And people can only develop within their culture. We are Africans, and we can only develop as Africans. We cannot develop as anything else. The countries that have developed within their culture. So, the CPP will use culture as another arsenal to defeat tribalism, build a united country, and a festival will be instituted that will enable all regions to display their rich culture. The state will earmark funds for creative arts, especially for plays that portray our culture, our history, and our heroes towards encouraging patriotism and national unity. There are many things, but I will jump to one, since Kabila is breathing down my neck.
You can't say it out here.
So, I will talk about empowering women beyond gender tokenism. The CPP's record on combating political exclusion of women has not been matched by any political party in our history. Never. We pledge to continue this tradition of ensuring political space for all women in the struggle to liberate the country from poverty. We shall aggressively tackle the roots of discrimination against women from childhood to adulthood. We shall use affirmative action policies to address current discrimination against women in all spheres of national life. The CPP pledges to uphold the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women 2030, Agenda 2030, officially known as Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. And we shall declare the growing incidence of teenage pregnancy, especially statutory rape against young girls, many of them still in basic school, as a national epidemic, and set up a task force to investigate the causes and propose the lasting solution. But I will leave the rest and just say one thing. We have a comprehensive policy for persons with disability. And of course, we in the CPP, we affirm the dictum, we live the dictum that disability is not inability. So, there are many things. Get yourself a copy. But before I sit down, I shall say this. Yekremo, yenjemo, yekremo, yenjemo, yekremo, yenjemo, yekremo, CPP, yekremo.
Right, so that was Susan Eduama there addressing the delegates on various aspects of the party's policies to address various things in the economy. She spoke about tax incentives to encourage skilled persons to work in, to take postings to rural communities. She also spoke about heavy investment in infrastructure, and he said that basic education will be made to include secondary education and will continue to be free. She emphasized that the CPP has been talking about free senior high school for several years, whilst the NDC and MPP have only been talking about it recently. She spoke about rural campuses, establishing rural campuses to help improve access to tertiary education, and also a policy where tertiary students will be given the opportunity to assess their lecturers to help improve quality of content, quality of teaching in tertiary institutions. He also said that a CPP government will engage a center to ensure tertiary education is factored. They will engage the private sector to ensure that tertiary education is factored into the skill set available on the local market, so that when people graduate from universities, they will have the requisite skill to fit into industry. She also spoke about the fact that the CPP government will equip the CSI and set up a global science consortium. The idea is to improve scientific and industrial research to help our country move forward. We'll take a break on that note, and when we return, I will go back to the venue and see how the CPP is faring with this manifesto launch.
Nearby to for dinner.
LEAP.
Leap tomato paste.
Oh,
What else?
honey, when it's a little tomato paste, be an idea. And so be so.
None more say
Madam, the food tastes very good. What's the secret?
LEAP.
Leap.
Leap tomato paste. Emma Edouani de Papa.
For bulk purchase, contact 050-140-1088.
Here's a story that goes on and on, like a firm buff geisha made to be strong. Our tale begins with a young princess and a bee. His wings had become bound together in honey. So the next day the young princess saved the bee. Her courage, just like geisha, did not melt away, you see.
Tell me more, Mommy.
Just like geisha, the story goes farther.
New geisha with honey. Its formulation binds the soap so it lasts and lasts, just like mom's love.
Something big is about to happen.
Very big for sure. On the 31st of October. It's going to be big.
Yeah.
On TV3 Blockbuster.
I know what you are.
You have no idea.
I'm not afraid of you.
You should be.
Your life belongs to us. Then take it if you can.
47 running, showing this Saturday at 8 p.m. only on TV3.
We have some problems that if the drum face is there, you don't beat the side and side. You have to beat the middle.
I read, coming soon, only on TV3.
First in news, best in entertainment.
Something big is about to happen.
Very big for sure. On the 31st of October. It's going to be big.
Yeah.
Right, so let's quickly go back to the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, where persons living with disability are addressing the CPP gathering.
Will be made progressively free for persons with disability. The CPP will ensure that persons with disabilities in need of personal assistance will be provided them free. They will also ensure that parents of children with disabilities will be provided with both legal and economic supports. Now, to end it up, women with disability will be given special attention due to their additional challenges as women and as women with disability. Thank you very much. All what we say is that disability is not inability.
Chaboy, CPP was huh? As I've said, we will demonstrate to them as we have done before. We have done it and we will do it and we can do it better and far better than, they are dancing with us. We are going to see a fresh voice, a fresh face, but of course, a part of this heritage. Our next presenter, who is going to speak briefly on our economic policy, which does not deal with the GDPs and the so-called minilis, but talks about what really affects you at the point of need. That we put food, bread and butter on the table. He has 25 years experience in finance, entrepreneurial and strategic planning as far as economic planning around the globe is concerned. The World Bank and IFC and all the multinational financial institutions of a former leader of this great party and this great convention People's Party. Kofi, welcome to the stage and give us that which works and puts money in the pocket of people. Control room. Control room. Slide. Thank you.
My fellow
Right, so that's still the continuous coverage of the CPP's, the launch of the CPP's 2016 Manifesto, which is taking place at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. A lot of speakers have spoken. Joseph Kwabena Bomfe, who is very popularly known as Joseph Kabila, has been on the floor, and we got people, representatives of the Disability Federation speaking there, talking about the legal and economic support to persons with disability under CPP, under a CPP-led administration. Let's hear what the current speaker has to say.
Our 5 pillars are based upon energy, labor, education and health, financial markets, and ICT. Our primary issue in Ghana with our economy is that over the last 24 years, both the NDC and MPP have been borrowing too much. We are going to stop the borrowing. The borrowing will end today. And we will only borrow for investment purposes, and we will not borrow for consumption. Let's get to the issues. First thing we're going to do on the energy pillar is we're going to issue a second refinery license. What does this do? It addresses 2 issues. One, it addresses the need. It addresses the fact that we will not need to borrow as much. If we issue a second refinery license, Ghana will get up to $5 billion. Up to $5 billion, that's up to 20 billion cedis. With that money, with that inflow of capital, what does that bring us? It brings us the money that we would, instead of going to go and borrow, we will now have it. It is our money. Because of that, we will then get clean industrialized growth. What does that mean? This refinery, as some of you are very aware, over the last few weeks, they've been talking about the diesel in Ghana, and the diesel being very dirty and not of the right quality. What we need to do is to bring Ghana to a cost-competitive benchmark. In other words, we want to make our industries cost-competitive. And the only way we make our industries cost-competitive is if we bring down the cost of doing business. And the two primary, I get carried away. The 2 primary factors that go into the development of an economy are 1, your energy, and 2, your labor. So, if we look at our energy, right now we import all of our energy needs in terms of both oil and refined products. We're going to build a second refinery here, and instead of importing the refined products, we will develop them here. And we will develop high-quality materials which we'll use to inject into our manufacturing and into our industrial and our agricultural sectors. So, we will increase our mix in renewables, and we will actually generate greater value from our oil and gas, in particular our gas. And for ECG, we will employ a PPP model. On the labor side, this is critical. Ghana's labor force is split between 24% in the formal sector and 76% in the informal sector. We're going to grow that 24%. And when you grow that 24%, you grow your tax base. That's how we're going to generate money. Okay? We're going to move people from the informal sector into the formal sector. Then we're also going to rationalize the public sector workforce. What we're trying to do is to improve the quality of Ghana. We have to improve the quality of Ghana, and we need to get more competitive. So, the whole idea here, education and health, already our chairman and Susan have spoken on both education and health. I can't really speak much to it. But on the financial markets, in terms of financial markets, this is what we're going to do. Fiscal policy, we're going to grow revenues, and we're going to optimize expenses. Okay? I've told you how we're going to grow revenues. We're going to increase the tax base. Okay? We're going to increase the tax base. We're going to issue a second refinery license, and we're going to invest in our manufacturing, and we're going to invest in our agriculture. And when we do that, We're going to grow revenues. Okay? Then the government has just passed this new public financial management law, which has brought down the ability of the government to borrow from 10% to 5%. What this law does, it curbs the government's ability to actually cause inflation, to keep borrowing. And this one is to keep borrowing from the central bank. We are going to stop that. We are going to take that to zero. Monetary policy. We are going to decline interest rates. And how are we going to decline interest rates? We are going to stop borrowing. I keep talking about this. We are going to stop borrowing relatively. It's all relative. And we are going to mobilize private sector capital. The fact is, Ghana is currently classified as a lower middle income country. As a lower middle income country, we have to move and bring in more of the private sector to help develop the country. And so to do that, we need to mobilize private sector capital. Right now, most private sector companies are complaining primarily about access to capital and access to financing, particularly long-term financing. What we're going to do is limit the amount of government assets held by the banking sector. And once you do that, the banks have no choice but to turn that capital towards the private sector. And the second thing we're going to do is to develop a long-term yield curve. Right now in Ghana, it's very hard to borrow 5 years plus. We are talking about building our country not just for ourselves, but for our future generations. And that is what is most important. So to do that, we need to develop a yield curve. And we'll talk about this later on in the presentation. On the ICT side, we're going to continue to build a robust nationwide mobile platform. We will grow smartphone penetration from currently, I believe it's around 30% to 100% of the sector. And we're going to increase the intermediation role of fintech and mobile money. And lastly, we will develop a digital industry. I talked about this in the previous slide. Ghana's projected debt right now is the following. Right now, Ghana's debt is approximately 70% of GDP. It makes Ghana a very leveraged country. By the end of our 4 years in power, we expect to take our debt as a percentage of GDP to 40%. And also by the year 2020, we will generate both a current account and a fiscal surplus. Again, in terms of a domestic yield curve, the issue is we need to develop a long-term financing sector so that we can take care of our kids' needs. Let me touch on this a little bit more. In the newspapers, there's been a lot of talk about the government issuing the latest bond, which was a bond, $100 million of bonds. And you had a number of the bank CEOs come out and say, it's crowding out the banks and crowding out the private sector. They are looking out for themselves. Okay? The way you do it is the following. You issue the bond both in cedis and in dollars. And you give the people the same guaranteed return on both the cedi and the dollar. So if you do that, there's no need for people to then go and change their cedis into dollars in order to get that return. I'm giving you a guaranteed return. The issue is done. Now, on our regulatory principles, as you know, the CPP comes from a position of ensuring that the state and the Ghanaian people are forefront in our development policy, and forefront in maximization of Ghana's value. Now, in every industry, we are going to operate based on the following principles: rule of law, competition, fairness, growth, innovation, transparency, efficiency, and impact. So, I talk about the need to drive interest rates down. Right now, interest rates are 26%. And for the last 15 to 20 years, they've been in the 20s. It's unacceptable. You cannot grow or develop with interest rates at 26%. The only way you drive interest rates down is to stop borrowing. So, over the next 4 years, we're going to drive down interest rates, and we're going to drive down interest rates, and we're going to spur growth. So, interest rates we expect to drop from 26% to 13% by the end of the 4-year period of CPP being in power. And when interest rates drop, then you're going to get financing of the private sector, and you're going to get growth. And you will get growth with jobs. So, we talked about growth with jobs and sustainable employment. We believe that by bringing value addition to the following sectors, we will get sustainable employment creation. I've got to move on. This presentation will be available on social media, so you can read it in further detail there. The other thing we're going to do is, as we change our investment allocation, right now the economy is split 3 ways: services, manufacturing, and agriculture. The primary and the largest segment or sector is services. We need to invest in our agriculture and in our manufacturing. And so we're going to change our investment allocation. And when we change our investment allocation over the next 4-year period, we will get greater macroeconomic stability. Now, if you remember slide 2 that Kabila talked about, where he talked about Pan-Africanism, self-determination, social justice. We have seen over the last 10 years in particular, a number of our fellow Africans trying to cross the Sahara, dying in the Mediterranean. Their indignity is going to stop. We are going to create the right environment so that Africans will stay here, so that we will industrialize, so that we will become more competitive, and so that we will raise our living standards. We propose a 5-year migration for industrialization program with the EU, where it will be a formal program. There will be no need for our people to die, to lose their dignity. No more. The highlights of our economic policies are as follows. We expect economic growth, GDP, which is this year expected to be 3.3%. By 2020, we will get GDP growth to 12%. Okay? This is critical. NPP and NDC will come here and they will promise you the following. That they'll get you GDP growth of between 7 to 10%. Let me tell you why that's insufficient to move us from lower middle income to middle income. 7 to 10% is insufficient. For a developing country, okay, 5% GDP growth is supposed to be sort of the benchmark for you to break even. If you're below 5%, 3.3%, it's negative growth, because you know why? There's population growth. The population grows at 2 to 3% a year. So therefore, we are break even or negative growth. Okay? So, you have to go above 5%. Now, if you go between 5 and 10%, you will get a little bit of real growth. But to get real growth, growth with jobs, inclusive growth, you need GDP growth rate above 10%, and we will do it. We will grow the GDP also from $42 billion to $75 billion. And GDP per capita will grow from $1,551 to $2,500. My fellow Ghanaians, it's time. It's time to work again. It's time to work again. There is victory for us. There is victory for us. In the name of great CPP.
for us. Before I call yet another fresh, young, new voice, may I take this opportunity to recognize in our midst Mrs. Nketia, second lady in waiting. Come on, with us. I will invite a young, fresh voice. He's a lawyer by profession, a human rights advocate, and an activist of politics. His name is Jamal Dean Dunzwa. Jamal, please come and do justice to how we and what we mean by responsive governance. You have just 5 minutes. Please, let's take your time.
Thank you very much. Party chairman, executives of the party at all levels, distinguished guests, friends from the media, comrades, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed. A few months ago, I had a phone call and I was told I was going to talk to the national chairman of the CPP, and that got me very apprehensive. I didn't know the trouble I had landed myself in because I had never met this man. A few days later, I met with him and with the presidential candidate of the convention party. By input and this I am to announce to the whole of Ghana that the Convention People's Party listened to the inputs of young persons in Ghana. A hand of applause. Now my task is very simple. I have to just tell us what the CPP would do by way of responsible governance. And beyond the what, how are we going to do it? And how would we realize the ambitions that the CPP has in its manifesto? Now the CPP has, through evidence-based research and broad consultation, identified the following critical areas. Firstly, accountable governance. Second, the fight against corruption. Third, public sector reforms and innovation. The next being safety and security. And lastly, judicial reforms. The CPP proposes to achieve what it wants to do in these areas through the following tools or mechanisms. First, by constitutional amendments. The CPP proposes that we should deepen the concept of separation of powers in this country. And the CPP, when going into specifics, believes that we need to have a constitutional amendment to restructure the arrangement that we have in respect of the Ministry of Justice and the Office of the Attorney General. And the CPP proposes that this we can do by amending the Constitution to provide for 2 offices which will be semi-independent of political and governmental influence, such that we would have a Director of Public Prosecutions in charge of criminal trials and a Solicitor General who would be non-partisan and who would not be appointed by the executive. Now, the CPP also proposes to amend the Constitution to do away with the death penalty. And the CPP proposes that by way of local government and decentralization, we should have a setup in which we would have all municipal, metropolitan, and district chief executives being elected by the locals. And this has a very simple objective. The objective is that you should have leaders who would be accountable and responsible to the people that they lead. And I think this is very refreshing. Now, the CPP also proposes to involve traditional leaders in a very active way as far as decentralization and local government is concerned. And so the CPP is proposing that the National House of Chiefs and the Regional House of Chiefs would be resourced, and this would ensure that they would discharge effectively their constitutional mandate of progressively codifying and developing customary law, and also to help them discharge their very important mandate of customary law arbitration. Next has to do with the strengthening of state institutions, and this would address the issue of corruption. Corruption is a very big problem in this country, and the CPP in the manifesto proposes that the Economic and Organized Crime Office, which is a statutory body, the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, which is also a constitutional as well as a statutory body, the Office of the Auditor General, and all other state institutions will be strengthened by way of resourcing them from funds which would be generated from the Independent Constitutional Bodies Fund. The CPP proposes that we should not leave funding of certain very critical government institutions to just the whims and caprices of politicians, but we should have a fund which would be for independent constitutional bodies. And so very important statutory and constitutional bodies which are involved in the fight against corruption should derive their funding from this institution, from this fund. Now, as far as justice delivery and the judiciary is concerned, the CPP proposes in this manifesto to ensure effective allocation to the judicial system to enhance efficiency and speedy administration of justice. Now, the CPP also proposes the CPP believes that justice delayed is justice denied. On national security, the CPP proposes to retool the Ghana Police Service, the Ghana Armed Forces, the National Disaster Management Organization, and all other security outfits to discharge their constitutional and statutory mandates efficiently to ensure that all persons in Ghana live and work in safe environments. Now, the CPP would also embark on certain critical legislative amendments, and proposals are made that we would have a reform in our criminal jurisprudence which will ensure that we incorporate non-custodial measures into our sentencing policies. Now, the regime that is currently operating with respect to the exploitation and production of our petroleum resource, as well as the management of petroleum funds, is something that the CPP thinks that we need to take a critical look at. And the CPP proposes to make certain critical legislative amendments along those lines. Finally, we would have to ask ourselves that with all these ambitious targets, how are we going to achieve them? And I'm happy to inform all of you fellow Ghanaians that the CPP presents us with a bold, confident, and a very dynamic and ethical leader in the person of Mr. Ivan Kwabena. All that has been said so far is achievable, but there is a condition precedent, and that is simple. The condition precedent is that on 7 December 2016, we must all come out in our numbers and ensure that as far as the ballot is concerned, Mr. Ivan Kwabena Greenstreet will be declared President of the Republic of Ghana. The party has come a long way, and as someone who belongs to the new school, I don't know if people are familiar with this song. Everyone sings virtually too. There is a song by R2Bs which says, I hear it's titled Life. I just want the CPP to, we should keep telling ourselves that where we've gotten to, there is no turning back. And so, wallahi, if you are bedroom the back over, I may be moving on like a soldier. I know go. Adehula, wallahi, baby, I'm making back Goma. Moving on like a soldier. I'm not going to lose the title and the holder. Green Street's title is President of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Jamal. Thank you, Jamal. Another round of applause. We have them fresh, young. So it's a blend. It's a blend. And I can assure you, what has worked for you before will not let you down. It will always keep you up and make sure you move on with your life and bring back your dignity. Ghana must be our focus. Our next speaker is a known voice and a known face. And I don't need much introduction. Massa, my old uncle, senior comrade, Kwesi Grant Jr. He is going to speak to our international policy.
As soon as they mentioned his name, I got up because he and Comrade Daniels trained me since 1996. Choboy, Osabai Mosaje yo Kantamanto say. Osabai Mosaje yo Kantamanto say. Yo say, Kwesi o.
The presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party, Comrade Ivor Greenstreet, and his running mate, Comrade David Nketia. The chairman of the party, Professor Edmond Dele, chairman of the Council of Elders, Comrade Felix Amwa, leaders of the party at all levels, comrades and friends. We are not here today just to outdoor our manifesto. We are here today to make a statement that everything in the manifesto is provable and doable. The statement we have come to make today is that we will not run away. We will accept every and any challenge, and we are ready to debate any and everybody on our manifesto and the movement. As you can see, some of our contestants are already running away from debate. We will not run away from debate because we know we are. Some of our contestants, they say they want one-on-one debates. Are there two presidential candidates? They are not. As at now, there are 5. There may be more. We want to debate every and anybody because we will beat them and because our leaders are power and we know the facts. You know, even before our manifesto launch, many things have begun happening. And I'm sure all of us can see the things that are happening. Today, on this high table, sits a man that everybody in the NPP acknowledged was highly instrumental in the victory of President Foforo in 2000 and 2004. Comrade Apam Foforo. This is something which is very significant. They say we are a small party, but they are coming from the bigger parties to join us. What does it tell you? And indeed, this is the surest signal that the Convention People's Party is ready to receive and accommodate everybody. So all those in different parties who can be satisfied with their parties, the party has a few things. Before
right, so we apologize for the weak signal strength. So we'll be going back to the Academy of Arts and Sciences, where the Convention People's Party is launching its manifesto. Different speakers have spoken about different policy directions for the CPP. You've seen Kwesi Pratt there. He's addressing the party faithfuls, and we'll be talking about aspects of the party's policies captured in the 2016 manifesto, which is currently being launched at the Academy of Arts and Sciences here in Accra. We've had quite a number of speakers speaking. Let's see if we have stable connection to Kwesi Pratt so we can continue with what he's saying.
This is their thinking capacity. We prefer people with weakness in their lower limbs to people with weaknesses in their moral upbringing and moral development. We did not make a mistake by electing Ivor Kwabena as the presidential candidate of the Convention People's Party. He was elected by delegates and he was elected deliberately because we know that he is articulate, he is sharp, he is committed to what he says, and he can deliver. That's how we elected him. So today, on the occasion of the launching of the Manifesto of the Convention People's Party, I urge all party people at all levels to show complete and total support for Ivor Kwabena. I have been asked specifically to discuss the international relations policy of the Convention People's Party that has captured in our manifesto. There is no point standing here and repeating what is in the manifesto, which will be available to everybody. That's not what I came here to do. Look, the foreign policy of the Convention People's Party was made clear on the eve of Ghana's independence. When the Osadifo declared that Ghana's independence is meaningless unless it is linked up with the total liberation of the African continent. The framework of our foreign policy was established from then. It has never changed, it will not change, and that is our foreign policy. Our foreign policy simply means that we shall use diplomacy to fight injustice wherever it occurs. That is the basis of our foreign policy. Our foreign policy is that we stand for the freedom of all peoples in Africa. Our foreign policy is that we must be able to exploit all of our resources to be able to build good roads for our people, to be able to build excellent schools for our people, to increase access to potable water, to provide healing for those who fall sick, and to build a society which is free of exploitation and domination by arrogant powers. That is the foreign policy. As we gather here today, as I stand before you today, the liberation struggle in Africa is not yet over. Today, Western Sahara remains colonized, and every Nkrumahist has a responsibility to ensure that no African country remains under the colonial yoke. That is our responsibility. I am sure, comrades, that many, if not all of you, have read your Sisyphus book, Africa Must Unite. There is something in that book which should guide us in terms of our foreign policy, in terms of our social orientation, in terms of everything. What is it? In that book, Nkrumah argues that Africa alone, one continent out of how many, has more than 50% of the world's resources. Africa alone, more than 50% of the world's resources. Rivers, trees, gold, diamond, manganese, and so on. Oil, gas, and so on. So why is Africa still so poor when we have more than 50% of the world's resources? Africa is so poor because the world trading arrangement, because the mechanism for fixing prices for primary and secondary commodities and so on is weighted against us. We pride ourselves as producers of gold, one of the leading producers of gold. How much do we get from gold? Less than 3% of the value of gold that is produced in this country comes back into our economy. The CPP will use its foreign policy as an instrument to reverse this so that we can get fair prices for what we produce. The CPP will use foreign policy as an instrument to ensure that the situation in which when we produce more, we earn less, is brought to an end completely. That is what our foreign policy will do. Indeed, our foreign policy is anchored on the principle of Pan-Africanism. What does Pan-Africanism mean? Pan-Africanism takes cognizance of the fact that Europe, the Americas, and elsewhere were built with the labor and sweat of our forefathers who were captured as slaves in the transatlantic slave trade. Pan-Africanism recognizes that those who were shipped outside this continent still have a contribution to make to our development. And we shall continue to work with the diaspora to ensure that we move not just this.
Right, so that you heard it, the CPP's, the person speaking there is Kwesi Prati, speaking about CPP's foreign relations or international relations policies and how the CPP government will use that to bring growth to Ghana's economy. He spoke about the excess reserves of minerals, oil and gas in Africa, which still have not been able to be used to bring prosperity to the people of Africa. CPP government, he does suggest, Kwesi Prati suggests, will work with the rest of the world to bring prosperity to Ghana and the African continent. The CPP, I must tell you, have not formed a government since 1966. They're coming on the back of a very tall order. I mean, the NDC and MPP have both been in government 2 or 3 successive times, and the CPP has not. But the CPP is very much in favor of a national development plan, which will be focused mainly on Nkrumah's 7-year development plan. They have been very much in support of the NDP's development plan. I must say, up next will be hot issues, and which will be live here on TV3. We'll be still keeping an eye on the CPP's Manifesto launch, currently ongoing at the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences.
supported by 3FM 92.7 Accra.
Good afternoon to all of you, our cherished viewers, and welcome to Hot Issues. So the Progressive People's Party has been cleared by the court, or, well, they've directed the Electoral Commission to actually give them a chance to correct errors they made in filling out their presidential nomination forms. What did the court actually say? And what were the reliefs being sought by the presidential candidate of the Progressive People's Party, Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum? And what does this mean for the other cases in court, as well as what does it mean for the presidential elections come December 7, 2016? This afternoon on Hot Issues, we're discussing the implications of the ruling by the court yesterday. Welcome back from the break, and thanks for staying with us. My guest this afternoon is the lead counsel of the Progressive People's Party during this particular court case, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Honorable Ayikwe Otu. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining. And let me say congratulations to you. I'm sure that's a pleasant feeling that you've gone to court and you were successful in having the court do the right thing. But I would want to understand something first and foremost. What were the reliefs that you sought from the court?
Well, thank you. Let's say that we take some of these things in our stride, and it is necessary for, some people out there to know that we've been around for some time. We are not very young persons or young practitioners who will be taken away, just because of one case. We've done a few cases. Having said that, there are grounds for an application to court, what we call, certiorari, or generally when we refer to prerogative writs, we're looking at certiorari, mandamus, prohibition, things like that. The ground is that if there is a breach of the rules of natural justice, that there is error of law apparent on the face of the record, there's excess of jurisdiction or lack of jurisdiction, and these days what we call the Wednesbury rules, where the officials have acted in a manner that can be described as being irrational, illegal, and have been fraught also with procedural irregularities. So your duty as a lawyer is to listen to the facts that will be presented to you by your client, and then ask yourself whether it falls within any of the grounds. Now, having listened to Dr. Papa Kwesi Ndum, I felt that a certiorari would be the best approach. So the relief was to ensure that the decision to, disqualify him is quashed, and then he is given the opportunity in terms of the law to make the necessary, amendments and alterations, and then these forms are now received by the returning officer, who is the chairperson of the YEC, because in presidential elections, the chairperson of the YEC is the returning officer, and then we take it from there. So these are the reliefs he sought, and he got them. The other one, which the judge didn't speak about, but then it's obvious that it flows from what he has said, was a prohibition that she should not proceed, or the commission should not proceed with balloting for presidential positions, on the ballot. And that one, if we are going to start the process all over again, it only makes sense that you will not go ahead and ballot.
So that one wasn't granted, but from...
No. It was unnecessary, as it were. Because once the decision has been quashed, and the commission has been asked to grant you the opportunity, then it's like you haven't finished the nomination side so as to move on to what you call the balloting for positions. So in any case, it won't come on, and she has never done that since we went to court. So I think it's not this, but I'm solely saying so to you because it was part of the beliefs that we asked, since you wanted to know what the beliefs we were seeking.
Now that we've established the relief that you sought from the court granted it. But looking at the ruling of the judge, one, you went by face of by the fact that the principles of natural justice had been breached, and also the fact that there were some errors. Now the judge was very explicit in the breach of natural justice by saying that you should have been given a chance to do so. But the Electoral Commission actually challenged that. Now they felt that one, your clients didn't submit it earlier, and to the fact that they were not supposed to be responsible for the mistakes that your client makes.
You see, they got the wrong end of the stick, and that's why I believe that some of these things, when you rush in discussing them earlier than when you've seen the entire evidence, to me is not the best. Because some people might not have even seen the law dealing with the public elections.
Okay.
And yet they were making comments and creating the impression that, like all those who were disqualified are criminals. Or
So
hold on, I'm coming. Mm-hmm. They are criminals, and that if they have had it, so be it. But let's read the law and the regulations. This is the Public Election Regulations 9, which is more germane to the issues we are discussing. 9.1. Whenever the nomination paper and the statutory declaration of a candidate are delivered and the deposit is paid in accordance with these regulations, the candidate shall be considered to stand nominated unless proof is given to the satisfaction of the returning officer of the candidate's death, withdrawal, or disqualification. So Papa Kwesi Indum comes there on a particular day, he gives you his nomination forms, statutory declaration, pays a deposit. He's a nominated candidate. How do you disqualify him? Because if he's not dead and he has not withdrawn, then he ought to be disqualified. So that's the next thing. The returning officer shall inform a candidate that the candidate's nomination is invalid, where A, the particulars of the candidate or the person subscribing to a nomination paper are not as required by law, or B, the nomination paper is not subscribed to as required by law. Ask yourself, what is the meaning of as required by law? It means that whatever you have done has gone against the law, because you did not do them as required by law.
And in this case, they say they didn't do them as required by law.
Yes, that is what they said,
yes.
As required by law. That's all right. Then what are you to do? They shall now give the candidate an opportunity to make amendments or any alteration necessary within the stipulated nomination period. On whom is the duty cast? Is it not on the returning officer? And they chose the word shall. They didn't say may. He said you shall give the candidate an opportunity to make amendments or any alteration necessary within the stipulated nomination period. So what is this talk about? Share responsibility, something on me, something. Where is it coming from? Whose idea is that? Who is misleading who?
Now
who is giving that? No, let me land. I want people to understand, that the duty is cast on you. It is not a discretion that you maybe ask the guy to see if he can do amendments or alteration. He said you shall give the candidate, afford him an opportunity to do the amendments and alterations. These words are also very critical. What is an amendment? This evening, I've been sitting back in my office and, after the judgment, I sat in my office and I heard a whole lot of things that people were saying without regard to the meaning of the word amendment.
What things were people saying?
Amendment. No, please, hold on. How come there? Amendments and alterations. If you ask someone to amend, he is to do something to the whatever is there in order to improve it. If you ask somebody to alter, it can change, so long as it does not change the entire document. Within the same document, it can make changes. So if you say A and B have not done it properly, can't I just remove them and replace them with some other things? That's the meaning. And the duty, it is a duty. It is a statutory duty. It is not a discretion.
The EC at the time argued that it was within a certain time.
Nobody bothered to find out what is the stipulated nomination period. Nobody. But everybody was talking. On the 30th, who said so? The law said that you appoint a day which will be for the nomination. It is that day that the papers will be brought to you. It is that day which is called the nomination day. And the EC told people that it will be available to accept their forms throughout Ghana on the 29th and 30th. Is that a stipulated nomination?
So I was actually going to that because looking at the judge's ruling, it indicates, for instance, that the nomination days were the 29th and 30th, and based on his understanding, there should have been a period after the nomination day to allow these people to make the corrections, right?
That was my argument.
Good, and that's what the judge upheld.
Yes, but I'm saying to you that this is where you went wrong, because
this is the argument put forward by the EC and other people. They said your client submitted the forms on the final day, and so they couldn't have made the necessary,
the point
have gone through. So I was just bringing that to you.
No problem.
That's the point.
No problem.
But again, I had gone on to your
making.
argument that you said, okay, so there should have been a period. There's a
so I'm saying that, did you even find out? Those of you who were trumpeting that thing, Dr. Indum chose to go the last day and there was no opportunity. Did you find out whether the EC ever gave a nominated period? It was my argument that all she did was to say that candidates could come for the forms, whether parliamentary or presidential, on the 13th of September. And that was it. So in elections or electoral process, what we are talking about is opening of nomination. Before then, nobody can go to take a form. I said you can come and take the form from the 13th of September. So nominations have opened. When did she say that the nominations will close? Did you see it anywhere that for 13th to say 20th? That if you don't bring them by 20th, you are out.
I didn't see that. Did you see
that? Yes. That's what I said. These are my original arguments. So I'm only explaining to you. It's only that sometimes our judges also write without necessarily paying, if you like, referring to the arguments and saying that these are the arguments of counsel which I uphold. But because they are the judge, they say that this is what I find. But you look at the submissions that I made, and you will find that it was my original idea that, look, there was no stipulated nomination period because she only opened and never closed. Then at an IPAC meeting, she told them that, look, I'll receive the forms throughout Ghana on the 29th and 30th. Can you tell me whether anybody presented his or her forms before those 2 days? No. This would have been impossible for the simple reason that you've got to give the nomination forms to somebody called or designated a returning officer. The returning officer has a duty to perform. He must put the time that he received these things and the date on them. So it is not a matter of just going to any regional office, district office in your constituency or wherever. You see a returning officer, see somebody and say, I brought the forms before. Before what? And then to whom do you actually give this form? You've got to give it to the returning officer. So she created the problem. She never said...
But Counsel for the Electoral Commission in that case argued that nothing prevented you from bringing it before the 2 days.
But that's the point I have made to you. When is the day? When? The day she nominated, she mentioned the nomination days. It is once you give, what I read to you, once you give your papers and they are received, plus your deposit, you become nominated. So where is the stipulated nomination period? Did she have one? The whole of us were sitting down, everybody was just talking. That's why I'm saying that before you move on, when things have happened, like all those letters that they were writing from, in the case of Nana Konadu, I didn't even bother to read because I knew that they were dead wrong. 29th and 30th, would it make a reasonable sense to you that the law says that when you give me the opportunity and I fail to take advantage, then you endorse that one and give it to the commission. And the commission is again given 7 days within which to take a final decision on the matter. He only tells you your nomination is invalid. He doesn't say that you are disqualified. Then he will transmit the record to the commission. And then the commission has 7 days under the law to take a final decision on the matter. So you cannot tell me that 29th and 30th were the same period and were the same nomination days. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense.
So from everything, there should have been a period after the nomination days, there should have been a time within which these people would have been given a chance to effect the corrections or alterations necessary, and then they would have been given the go-ahead to contest the elections.
That was the context in which I said that you have Afarijan, who is respected across Africa. He goes, gives lectures on elections. He's been on the seat for a very long time. He's the immediate past chairperson. Why? He's done this thing all through. We've all known the opening and close of nomination and all that. Could have, you know, maybe learned a thing or two from that individual. It's always dangerous when you take over without reading the notes and getting to know whoever you've taken over from, because there are times that you may need their, you know, experience to bear. You know, so this will show that there was clearly, you know, some kind of, you know, lacuna, which could easily have been filled if some of these people, and I was wondering, such, you know, experienced election administrators like Amadou Sule has been there for some time. I would not be able to tell what the relationship is or what the internal working arrangements are, but otherwise somebody like him should have been able to draw attention that, hey, madam, you have only announced an opening of nomination day, but you have not told us the close, and you've not given us the stated period. So all that, you know, unfortunate things that were being said, that he could not have been given the opportunity because the nomination was closed. The nomination, I mean,
what does this mean for the PPP now? Yes, the court says they should have been given a chance. How does that happen?
Well, what it means is very simple. I mean, they were in court. They have a lawyer. They heard the judgment. This is the relief we sought. It's been granted. So tell them when they can go, come for the forms, because the forms are with them. Give the forms back to them. Let them go and effect the necessary amendments and alterations and bring them back. That's all. So it is the onus is now on the EC, because it is that onus which was cast upon them, that duty, that statutory duty imposed upon them, is what the judge is ordering them to now follow, which they could have done by just reading the law.
And so now they wouldn't have to go back and, you know, decide on a day and ask the PPP to come back, do the corrections and resubmit.
Keeping in view the fact that we don't have much time, because December 7th is across the corner. And that's why everything was fast-tracked. We went to court, we filed our papers, we were asked to appear in court for abridgment of time. Time was abridged. And we were asked to file all our documents within a very short time, come and make their legal arguments, and thereafter we had a judgment. So within a week or so, I mean, I think that this thing has not taken more than 1 week, and we are through with it. So it should also keep in view the fact that we don't want to mess around with our 7th December date and do things, you know, with some alacrity, so that, and finance, you know, so that within a very short time, we could get all these things ironed out.
Many have asked the question and they've been wondering, can this affect the other cases?
Sure. I don't know what else. You know, the EC Council raised the objection that, in his view, we needed to have come by way of election petition. I oppose this strongly, that it doesn't make one bit of sense. Election, you know, petitions are used after an election. I'm saying that the election was invalid. I stand rather elected and not the person who has been declared a winner and all that. That is when you bring in an election petition. So if election petition is not the way to go, and I can clearly put my finger on, for example, the breach of the rules of natural justice, and then come to court by way of certiorari to have it quashed for me, that clears the way for all those who have not already gone. That, look, forget about this so-called animal which we cannot even define, we don't know its nature, called election petition, in the circumstance in which we find ourselves when we are talking about nomination, and then files a certiorari application to have the thing quashed on the same grounds that we went, you know, basing your argument more on the fact that there was a breach of Regulation 9(2)(a) and (b), which offers an opportunity, especially 3, which offers an opportunity for the, no, 2(9)(a) and (b), which says that opportunity
NDC and NPP merely continue to offer us what they've been offering us for 24 years. And that is their greatest speciality. Lie upon 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 lie. And there is a special word to describe continuous lies, because continuous lies no longer is called a lie, and that special word is mendacity. 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 And the NDC and the MPP are mendacious. They are mendacious. And they continue to break all their promises, torture us with all their lives, and enslave us. And they have enslaved us because we continue to be subjected to all their lies. It is time to end their slavery. They are nothing short of being pirates, just like the great song. Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. So wait, DJ, do you have the song there? Oh, pirates, yes, they rob I, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit. But my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in desperation, triumphantly. Would you help to sing this song of freedom? Is all I ever had. Redemption song, redemption song. Emancipate yourself from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear for atomic energy. None but ourselves can tell the time. Oh, won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? Is all I ever had. Redemption song. Away! 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 Away!
Total support! Total support!
Fellow Ghanaians, redeem us from these pirates. Redeem us from these pirates. Redeem us from these 24 years of piracy. It is enough. And so ours today is a true manifesto that represents hope, justice, and opportunity for the future. And you have heard the speakers earlier speak about our pillars of self-determination, social justice, and Pan-Africanism. And self-determination. Senior Comrade Kwesi Pratt made an important statement about our resources. How is it possible that you have a National Development Planning Commission which goes around the whole country seeking the views of Ghanaians, and Ghanaians tell this very commission that what they want is for us to earn more from our resources that God has bequeathed this our great nation? Oil, gold, gas, cocoa, timber, diamonds, bauxite, fertile lands, access to water resources, strong human beings. And yet we continue to wallow in abject poverty, bowing before forces. And so secretly, ignoring this cardinal principle that the people of Ghana had requested, NDC and NPP went to secretly pass this petroleum law, instilling and emphasizing
a method called the Ghana hybrid system, which is a form of getting revenue from our oil sector through royalties and taxes. And you know how bad as a nation we are at collecting taxes. And you know how good multinationals are at escaping taxes. We in the Convention People's Party will repeal that law, will review that law, we will amend that law. We will bring what is called the production sharing formula. That is where, just like a farmer who owns a piece of land and somebody comes to grow corn on that land, they share in the proceeds. Between 2010 to 2015, from the system which NDC and NPP want, we earned $3 billion as a nation. But if we had adopted the production sharing formula, like other progressive African countries, like Nigeria, like Libya, like Angola, we would have between the years 2010 to 2015 earned $9 billion. $6 billion more. And these, my brothers and sisters, are facts. And with that additional $6 billion, we would have no need for loans, and more loans to bequeath to our children and generations as at yet unborn. But it requires determination. It requires courage. You have to be stern. You must dream. You must have vision. You must desire something better for your people. And this is a party which brought political independence for this nation. And this is the only party, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's party, Akuko party, that can bring economic independence to this nation. And in the areas of social justice, there's so many simple things we can do as a people to make our lives for our ordinary citizens easier. Even simply in our manifesto, our desire to ensure that we implement the provisions of the Rent Act. Ordinary people moving around are forced to pay 2 or 3 years rent in advance. Meanwhile, the law states you are only supposed to pay 3 months. How many young people and young families can afford to come up with 2 years in advance? Meanwhile, the law is there. They don't apply it. We shall apply it. We shall reject GMOs. We don't not interested in GMOs with all our fertile lands, thousands and millions of hectares lying fallow. We reject GMOs. We reject the economic partnership agreement which will put us into further poverty in this nation. We don't believe such agreements should be entered into unilaterally. They're not agreements. They are impositions. And we shall stand by Nigeria and ensuring that we work out these things using ECOWAS at the core. And we have spoken also about all the things we're going to do for ordinary teachers, doctors, nurses around the country. I am the son of 2 teachers, 2 lecturers, 2 professors. There is nothing I will not do for teachers or for doctors who in our manifesto we are saying postgraduate education will be free for all doctors to make sure we retain them in this country. And in energy, we have spoken about our desire for greater emphasis on wind power, renewable energy resources. And they find it strange. Meanwhile, the United States of America is determined to have 20% of its whole total energy mix to be wind power by the year 2030. Only 14 years away. And God has bequeathed this, our great nation, a wind corridor of 1,000 kilometers, stretching all the way from Adan to the north, all along the Volta River, which has a parallel mountain range, which is a trough. And we shall install wind turbines along the entirety of this corridor, 120 meters high, 85 meters in diameter, 300 meters triangular, reducing the wind outage by 66%. We will be able to generate 9,000 megawatts of energy. Come on. And these are not idle dreams. Research has been conducted by one of Ghana and the Convention People's Party's most able and senior engineers. Robert Wood. He's not been well of late, so I hope all of you will find time to put him in your prayers this evening. Chaway! Yeah. Fellow Ghanaians, that is what we mean by Apam Foforo. That is what we mean by a new covenant. Because leadership is a sacred duty and a sacred responsibility. And our leaders for these last years have not been serving the people of Ghana, they have been serving themselves. And so we must change. But this our change we desire is not a rise for change. Because NDC and MPP are the same. Our change is Sankofa change. Sankofa change. We want us to go back and pick that thing which served this nation so well. Chogwe! And so our manifesto, as the chairman and leader also referred to, insists that we should be one as a nation and end all of this divisiveness, but rather be all-inclusive and use all our best talents and create a meritocracy and get away with connection and let everybody feel part of the society and let everybody feel that if they work hard, they can succeed in their daily life. Chogwe! And so we must all be one. We must all love and not hate. We must all heal and not hurt. We must all serve and not expect to be served. The pain of this nation can bring due reward of light and love. Our souls can control the outer forms of life and all events and bring to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let love prevail. Chaway! Chaway! There is a second verse of a famous Methodist hymn which I would like to seek your permission to sing. By thy unerring spirit led, we shall not in the desert stray. We shall not full direction need, nor miss our providential way. As far from danger as from fear, whilst love, almighty love is near. Chaway! Yeah. We must not stray in the desert. We must not miss our providential way as a nation. And so therefore, I would urge all of you and all Ghanaians that the sky is the limit for this nation if you elect the Convention People's Party. What we need as a nation is courage. Akukodro. What we need as a nation is courage, because courage is the first of all human qualities. And the reason why courage is the first of all human qualities is because courage is the one quality that guarantees all other qualities. Yeah. And so therefore, we shall resist all negative challenges stubbornly. Our response shall be rapid yet flexible. We shall bring back the dignity of this nation. Our determination is unwavering. Our resolve is resolute. China took the world by storm. Ghana and Africa, we shall take the world by tsunami. God bless you. Inshallah. But I want to show you one final thing as you go back for these final days of the campaign. All of you MPs here, in conjunction with the national chairman and leader of this party and the whole entirety of the party, will be leaving here with all the bullets you need for the final days of this campaign.
song is ready. The voting song is ready. Protest support. Protest support. If you agree, no.
I from Commoner Green Street can never send you into battle naked without any weapon. At the central committee of the party, we agreed with the national chairman and leader and head of this campaign that this final hour of our campaign is known as Operation Crucifixion and Resurrection. And that means that we are going to crucify the NDC and the NPP and resurrect the CPP. So finally, we want you to go back knowing what kind of change we are talking about. You know, when you move around, the change they tell you is this one. Here is the same. This is how our change is going. You see, our friend and our brother, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, NDC, we are sorry, but your time is up. And what? Away. And then our father, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who wants to come. Nana, we are sorry. Away. And so, as for our change, before the USSM will come, you better block it. So we're going to block and then change. 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 Block. Dana se, Dana se, Daona mena se, Dana se, Dana se, Daona mena se. Every side, oh yeah, Dana se, Dana se, Daona mena se. Manifesto.
Joboy. Pennyfono to Adrian, they better a new back for me. Say,
Ghana goes green.
It shall finish.
Protest up.
Silence.
On behalf of our presidential candidates, the vice presidential candidates, the Central Committee of the party, in the name of the Convention People's Party, the great party, as chairman, this is our 2016 manifesto, the manifesto of the people. This manifesto which will take us to this victory. All of you should try and have a taste of the Apam Foforo, the new covenant that the eloquence of our presidential candidate shows what? Victory is for us. Nobody can take this victory from us. And this is our manifesto, the people's manifesto. And there is no way Ghanaians will not vote for the Convention People's Party. All members of the Convention People's Party should rise up and sing out, there is victory for us. And our Ghanaians should know that CPP is back again. As I said, it was a sleeping giant, and the giant is up. And it is going to beat any party. We are prepared to debate with any party. And I'm saying, as the Gazelle Bayaroba, the chairman of the CPP, and the Abedipele of the CPP of Ghana, we shall bring them and come December 7th. It will be cold for the CPP. Chairman 1 on behalf of the Convention People's Party.
Chairman 1.
I declare that our manifesto for 20 is duly launched.
And comrades, this is the Braille version of the manifesto. And as was indicated earlier, we also have a sign language version. And I don't know whether Alex Tete is still around, but he had wanted to do something with the sign language version. Alex.
Somebody is there. So you launch the screen. Somebody is doing the screen.
Okay. Is there something on the screen now?
No.
Is the sign language on the screen?
Control room, what is to come on the screen?
Ivor show.
We are waiting for the sign language to appear on the screen.
Control room, please.
Sign language.
Sign language. Where is the sign language version? Okay, so it gives me great pleasure to launch this Braille version of the manifesto. And thank you very much, comrades, for your time and attention today. And I know others will be now giving some other minor speeches. But I wish you a safe journey home. You know, now is the final hour. And so we are going to let you know how we are going to conquer this our enemy. And rest assured. So we'll be meeting in chambers before you leave. And it shall be well. No shaking.
No shaking.
Rise up.
There is victory for us in the name of grace, CPP. There is victory for us.
Forward.
Forward, never. Backwards, never. In the name of grace, CPP. There is victory.
Forward.
Forward, ever. Backwards, never. In the name of grace, CPP. There is victory. Freedom. 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 May we all depart in peace. And inshallah, the good Lord will be with us.
We have not finished. Where's the program?
Sorry, we have to say. We have to say. Sorry, please. Please take your seats. Please take your seats. We need to officially finish the function.
Akuko Party. Dr. Flanagan has identified 4 short-term priorities.
We shall call on the National Women Organizer.
Hey, my women, able women come. Yes, they should come after that. We'll sing it.
After that, we say prayer.
Yeah, we say prayer. It's all right. Say it, please. I can't do
Please, can we all take our seats as we take the vote of thanks?
Jobai! Jobai! Jobai!
Before that, all coordinators should see Rashid allow the national coordinator for polling stations to hand over the list that collected from your various constituencies and regions. Please see Rashid allow.
Which says that opportunities should be offered to the, candidates to go and effect changes. If they should do that, I don't see how anybody will lose. And if they should all follow the same Sassarara application format, it should be okay by